Hey, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith, and I want to talk a little bit today about bunkers. Bomb shelters, fallout shelters, get away from that stuff, get under the ground shelters, that kind of thing. I come from a time and place to where we kind of thought a lot about that. So before we get into that, I want to remind you that this and every video that I make is brought to you by the Stone Mott series, my series of books about preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding from total collapse. Anything that you've ever wanted to know about how to do that kind of stuff should be in here in a great story. And the sixth one, people are already buying it. Oh, these are available on Amazon, and I always put the link down there. People have learned from this all over the world. I should say this. I get emails and texts and things from preparedness instructors all over the place that say they have learned a lot from these. So if they learned from these, so can you. And a lot of the sixth one is out now. People are already buying it in Kindle format from Amazon. And again, I put the links right down there. The hard copy will be available. This is the sixth book. Right across here it says not for resale, because this is what's called a proof copy, that they print this up and they send it to me, see if I want to make any changes in it. And I did. I made a bunch of changes and sent it back, and so I'm waiting for their other book that they send me to make sure that they did all the changes that I wanted them to. And I'm expecting that maybe, this week. And when that comes back, then I'll give the okay for this to be sold on in the paperback. And then I have another exciting announcement, but not today. So if for those of you who have already bought the Kindle, that's great. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. By the way, I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. It continues the story and the lessons, and I'll let you know when this is available in paperback. So that's the commercial. Bunkers. I come from a time and a place to where we spent a lot of time thinking about these things. I grew up in the 50s and 60s in Kansas, so that means we were not only worried about tornadoes, but about the nuclear threat. The Khrushchev was going to bury us all. The Soviet Union was going to attack us and wipe us out and everything like that. And some of you may remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. They say, depending on how much you believe, that it was the closest we've ever come to a nuclear exchange, except for what we did in Japan, and that wasn't an exchange. And things are getting dicey now. So with all the things that are happening, it made me think about doing this one. A couple of things made me think about doing this one. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Aiden and I were over at a friend of mine's house, and he was showing us the safe room he was building at his place. Very nice place. We are going to be starting this summer adding, I'll just call it a security location on our property, somewhat similar to the one that I write about in here. If you want to know about building a bunker in your own place, I write about what I suggest in this very first book. So bunkers, I wrote this in 2016. It came out in 2017. So the idea of bunkers is nothing new to me. Okay, if you're new to me, if you're new to this channel, I've been at this business for a long time. But we'll be starting to work on a security situation here. I don't know if I will talk very much about that, but we will see. And then just a couple of days ago, I was looking at some land in the Ozarks. We have some land in one portion of the Ozarks, but I was looking at another piece of property that has something on it that I particularly look for, and that's a cave. And this particular cave had something extra in it, something that I like, and that was it had a stream that originated within the cave. Okay, it was a good multi-use property. It has open areas for planting. It has, even though, Ozark soil is not that good, but you can grow stuff. Just takes work and knowledge. And then a lot of trees, uneven terrain, which I like. Rocks and trees, rocks for building all sorts of stuff, and trees for fuel and other things. But this had it all, so I was very interested in that. So all these things put together said, okay, I think I'll do a video on shelters, bunkers, bomb shelters, whatever. And that's it. There's a lot that goes into it. We can't cover nearly everything about bunkers. I just want to give you a few observations, and I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say. If you have questions about it, I would suggest that you come over and ask them on Patreon. Okay, that's where we really get into the depths of things. Our community section, if you're not with us on Patreon and you are serious about preparing and survival, you need to be with us on Patreon. The basic level is only $1 a month. It's less than you spend on a Diet Coke at McDonald's, and then that's for the month. And then there's another level you can go to if you would like. But if you really are serious, you need to be on Patreon, not just because everything that I put on YouTube is also on Patreon, but I put a lot of stuff there that I don't put on Patreon. And there's a third thing, and that is the community section. We have some of the smartest people you could ever imagine in our community section, and they have supply so much technical information. You know, I hear a lot of other channels talking about EMP and CME and stuff like that, and they're not experts at it. In our community section, we have experts at that, and they go into detail, and they have left so much learning material over there in our community section. You can't believe it. I go over there to learn. Okay. So if you're not with us on Patreon, the link is down below. It really is a step up. You're going to get a lot out of it. It's only cost you $1 a month. So I look forward to seeing those of you who aren't over there with us yet. So anyway, there's no way that I can get into everything about it. I want to hit on a few high spots, and then I'll be really interested to hear what you all have to say. If you've done something like this, if you have something like this, if you have thoughts about it, and like I say, the questions are going to be better held over on the Patreon channel, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I don't spend a lot of time on the YouTube side answering questions. Okay, first off, I've seen a lot of bad designs for bunkers. Okay, one of the first things is they're too small. You know, if you just are trying to ride out a tornado, okay, that's one thing. They're over in a few minutes, and then you can come back out, if you can come back out. The second thing that I see, the problem in many of these things, especially the prefabricated ones, is that the doors open outward. That's a death trap. That's stupid. If you have one of these in your basement, your house falls down on top of it, you can't get back out. And how long is it going to take for people to come through and find you? If they do find you before you die in there, your time in there is going to suck bad. Okay, so that's the one thing. Keep in mind, you need something big enough, not just to be able to move around in, and not. I saw one where 3 or 4 people just sit on a little bench and wait. That's ridiculous. You'd be just as well, you know, getting in the corner of your basement if you have a basement. If you don't have a basement, find some place you can go underground. And there's different ways. I'm not going to get into surviving tornadoes. That's a whole different thing. We're used to that here in Kansas. But make it big enough. You need it big enough to move around for you and whoever else is going to be in there to move around. You need, in case you're going to be down there for a while, you need food and water. You need to have it stocked. You need to make arrangements for hygiene. Okay. Pretty soon people are going to have to start going to the bathroom, and it ain't going to be fun if you haven't thought about it. So think about those things. Well, I'm not going to go into that. if it goes beyond just a short amount of time, you need to think about actually living in it for a while. So do think about living in it for a while. Around here in the Kansas City area, we have a lot of limestone caves. They were blasted out for various purposes, mainly commercial purposes, storage, offices, things like that. And if you've never been through one of those complexes, they are something to see. You can go in there and drive for a long time. And would they be safe? Yeah, they would be safe from most attacks. But you have to think about this too. So you're in there. Are they just going to let people spill in there? Okay, first off, you're going to have to drive to get there. So when the sirens go off, how much time do you have before, if you're going to get struck, you get struck? 20 minutes, something like that. With these new hypersonics, who knows? Okay, well, you're not gonna be able to drive to one of these commercial caves in that amount of time. And then when you get there, they're not just going to let anybody in. They're not going to let hundreds and thousands of people trying to stream in to get underground. These places are easily secured, and they're going to secure it for the people who are supposed to be there. Even if they did let you in, and there's some abandoned ones around, they let you in there, you're going to be in there. This is just talk about abandoned ones. You're going to be in there in the dark with just, whatever light sources people have, which in many cases is going to be their phone, which is the battery's going to go out pretty soon. You're going to be in there without much food and water. You're going to be in there with a lot of other people with no food and water. Tempers are going to get strained. The same asshats that you deal with out here are going to be in there. You're not going to have any facilities for, hygiene and things like that. Life is going to suck really bad really soon. So, these ideas are just kind of crazy. So I do suggest, and I'm sorry if I go over this again, I had to restart this video. So if I haven't said this, I want to say it. If I have said it, it bears repeating. My suggestion is that you build your own. Build your own if you're on a property. You can build a good one. I don't suggest you stick built it. Don't make it out of 2x4s and wallboard. Build it out of filled concrete blocks. If you do it in your basement, it's best if you can do it in an area. If you have a bathroom in your basement, that's good. If you have an area that's been stubbed for a bathroom in your basement, like many people do, but they haven't finished their basement yet, do that. That's good. Include that area, if you can, into your safe areas. And when I'm talking a safe room, I'm not necessarily talking a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 12. I'm thinking more of a 20 by 20. Okay, that's really what I'm thinking about. And without going into details about what we're going to do here, you do want it to be a living environment. Okay. Now you want to pay attention to those important things. You want food and water there. You want, the ability, to satisfy your hygiene needs. The bad thing about things like this, if you don't, well, depending on how far you go into preparations, is that very often in these situations, it's one way in, one way out. Now, if you read the reversion, I talk all about that. Sorry, I don't remember if I said that in this one or not. I talk about exactly how he built his bunker, and it's not one way in, one way out. You want a main way in, and you want more than one way out. Because if there's only one, I don't like to go anywhere where there's only one way out. Yeah, that could become your grave. So make that a part of your plan. It's not just a matter of hiding from the big, whatever the problem is, and then someday you're going to come out when it's all over. It's more complicated than that. What if you need to get out? You need to be able to get out. And that emergency exit is not something that should be easily identified from the outside. Okay, I know people that have put these things on their property, and their emergency exit, they put a doghouse on top of it, sometimes with a real dog in it. So think about that. You also want to think about air. Your bunker, and I have seen some just ridiculous, humorous designs on the internet on how to build your bunker. I'm not going to get into it here, but use your head. A smart thinking person will know what's right and what's wrong. And I can get into all stuff like, should it be steel lined? Yeah, if possible. Should it have a poured concrete roof? Yes, if possible. Should it be steel in there? If possible. A lot of things, if possible. How reinforced should it be? As reinforced as you can make it and can afford to do it. And then have, other ways out. And then have air. The thing about being down underground, if your air supply gets stopped up, well, you're dead, aren't you? You're dead. I mean, it goes back to the rule of threes. What's the first rule, right? Right? 3 minutes? Okay, well, if somebody, knows that you're down there and they want you to come back up, they're either going to throw burning stuff down your air intake or they're just going to stop it up. So you need, here again, it's redundancy. How many ways in and out? How many ways to get air? Yeah, an air exchange. Don't just have, I see too many with just one air pipe. Do you realize? I mean, that is a very poor design. You want air flow. And there's ways to do that. I'm not going to explain it here. I'm just giving you the things to go out there and start looking for. So, basically, is it good to have a bunker? Yes. Should you think about having a bunker? Yes. Should you buy one or build your own? I think it's going to be a lot cheaper and you're going to get a lot better deal if you build your own. Should you build it on your property where you can get to it fast? Yes, if your property allows that. And I don't mean your HOA. I mean, I'm not concerned with that stuff. But if your property lends itself to that, if it doesn't, you should identify places around close to you that you could get to. But realize that these are very temporary situations. If the sirens go off, and hopefully you've got all your food and water and supplies and things like that already packed in your truck or your SUV or whatever, and you boogie over there and you get down there. Well, think about the problems that you could be dealing with, which is people, and maybe not getting access like you thought you would. Is it better to have a place that you could go to of your own, to where you have pre-staged stuff and built a shelter for yourself? Yes, it is. And is it better to live on that location? Yes, it is. I don't right now. I'll be real honest with you. I don't live on the location. That's why I'm looking for other locations, and that's why I like that cave with the water, with the spring. It's spring-fed. Originating within the cave. You don't want anybody to be able to cut your water off. Okay, all sorts of things. Talking about this makes me think that I ought to write an entire book about it, because it would take a book to get into everything about this. I just wanted to kind of propose this to you today. When you're thinking about bunkers and safe rooms and things, do a lot of research. Don't just jump on this or that. The basics, right? Air, food, water, defense. The basics. Simply apply these to how you would be thinking about putting in a safe room, a panic room, a bunker of some kind, and then do a lot of research, and then make it your own, and make it the best. Easily accessed, easily gotten out of. And that's it. So I'm going to leave it there, because I'll be real interested to hear what you all have to say about this. Is it going to be necessary? Well, who knows? But I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't think that there was a possibility. And I wouldn't be actually looking at other land if I didn't think that there might be a necessity, right? So Those are my thoughts. Again, remember that if you want the complete lessons on how to prepare for, survive, put the sixth one up there, and rebuild after a total collapse. It is the Stone Mount series, my books, The Reversion, The Revival, The Renewal, An Appeal to Heaven, The Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune. They're great books. My wife says she loves them. And they're all available on Amazon in either paperback or Kindle. The links are down there. And if you're not with us over on the Patreon channel, you really need to be. We'd love to have you, and there's so much more over there for you to learn and be involved in. It'll be the best dollar you ever spent. So with that, you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And as the world gets crazier, it just gives us more and more things to prepare for, right? Okay, we'll do it, and you'll be in better shape. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.